The attic floor cracked open beneath Hannah's feet. Splinters shot up, the air filled with dust, and the faceless figure's voice thundered through the walls. "Choose. Now." Hannah's arms wrapped tighter around Lily, her body trembling, her heart screaming against the impossible command. But then, another sound cut through the chaos. A voice. Familiar. Male. "Don't listen to him, Hannah." She froze, because that voice didn't come from Ramirez. It came from the shadows. A figure emerged from the far corner, stepping into the dim light. A man. His hair grayed, his face weathered, but his eyes were the same hazel as Hannah's. Her breath caught in her throat. "Dad!" Ramirez turned sharply. "What the hell?" Taylor's smile widened. "Finally. Took you long enough to show yourself." The faceless figure didn't move. Its shadow pulsed, rippling like smoke. Her father stepped closer, his voice low, urgent. "You don't have to choose, Hannah. That's the lie. That's always been the lie." Hannah's mind reeled. Her father had been dead for 20 years. She remembered the funeral, the closed casket, the whispers of an accident. "You're not real," she whispered. But her father's eyes softened. "I am. And I never died, Hannah. They took me, just like they tried to take you." The faceless figure hissed, the shadows snapping violently across the room like whips. Taylor stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Enough games. She makes the choice tonight." Hannah's father squared his shoulders. "No. She learns the truth tonight." He turned to Hannah, voice shaking. "Your mother and we made a pact. When you were a child. It was the only way to keep you alive. But they don't want you anymore." He glanced at Lily. "They want her." "No!" Hannah cried, clutching Lily tighter. Ramirez's gun shifted between Taylor and the faceless shadow, panic flickering across his face. "What the hell is going on here?" Her father's gaze hardened. "This town, Willow Creek, it's been feeding them for generations. Children, traded away. The council, the church, even the police. That's why no one helps you. That's why they let it keep happening." Ramirez's breath hitched. "The council." Her father nodded. "I was part of it once, before I tried to stop them." The attic shook harder, beams groaning under the weight of the figure's fury. "You lie," Taylor spat. But Hannah's father ignored him, pulling a small, worn leather journal from his coat. "This," he said, thrusting it toward Hannah, "is proof. Every name, every child, every parent who made the deal." Hannah's hands trembled as she reached for it, clutching the journal against her chest. "Read it," her father said, "and you'll understand. This was never about you being weak. This was about us being trapped." The faceless figure let out a low, guttural sound, somewhere between a growl and a scream, that rattled the attic floorboards. Suddenly, the figure lunged. Its shadow shot forward like a spear, wrapping around her father's chest. He gasped, his feet leaving the ground as the faceless entity pulled him upward, pinning him to the rafters. "Dad!" Hannah screamed, rushing forward. The journal fell from her grip, pages fluttering open across the floor. Ramirez grabbed Hannah's arm to stop her. "Don't! You'll get taken too." Her father's voice strained, choked under the grip of the shadow. "Hannah, the circle. Break the circle. It's the only way." The attic walls cracked, plaster raining down, as the figure's faceless head tilted toward her. Taylor's eyes gleamed with malice. If she breaks the circle, she breaks herself. Hannah dropped to her knees, grabbing at the scattered journal pages. One caught her eye, a drawing nearly identical to Lily's. The same circle, The same faceless figure. And beneath it, scrawled in faded ink, "The circle is the prison." She looked up at her father, still gasping, his voice rasping one final time. "Burn it, before it takes her too." The shadows tightened, snapping the breath from his throat. His body convulsed once, then went still. The attic fell into silence. Hannah clutched the journal to her chest, her tears dripping onto the pages. Ramirez whispered, shaken, What is this?" Lily's voice cut through the quiet, flat and eerily calm. "It's not over, Mommy." Hannah froze. Slowly, she turned toward her daughter. And in the dim light, Lily's eyes were no longer her own. They were black, pitch black. The faceless figure's voice echoed through her daughter's mouth. "The circle has already chosen." Lily's black eyes shimmered like pools of ink. Her tiny hands clutched at Hannah's shirt, her voice hollow, echoing with the faceless figure's tone. "The circle has already chosen." Ramirez staggered back, his gun shaking. What the hell? But Hannah couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She was staring into her daughter's face and seeing something else staring back. Something that wasn't Lily. "Let her go!" Hannah screamed, shaking Lily gently, as if she could rattle the darkness out of her. Lily tilted her head, the movement jerky, unnatural. Her lips curved into a smile that didn't belong to a child. "She's mine now," the faceless figure's voice whispered through Lily's mouth. "Just like you were supposed to be." Hannah's hands trembled. "No, no, you can't have her. You can't." The journal pages at her knees fluttered as if stirred by an unseen wind, the words almost glowing under the flickering attic light. Ramirez barked, desperate, "Do something. Whatever your father said, burn the circle." But Hannah's mind was spiraling. The pages, the drawings, all of them were children. Children who had been chosen. Her stomach lurched. She whispered, "This has happened before. So many times." Ramirez's voice cut through the haze. "Then stop it from happening again." But Lily, or what wore Lily's body, laughed. A sharp, chilling sound. "You can burn the pages. You can fight the shadow. But the circle isn't on paper." The air turned icy, their breath misting in the dark. "The circle," Lily said slowly, her black eyes unblinking, "is inside her." Hannah's heart dropped. The circle wasn't a symbol. It was a mark, a birthright. Her father's words slammed back into her mind. "This was never about you being weak. This was about us being trapped." Ramirez looked at her, his face pale. "He meant you. The pact. You were chosen, and now it's Lily." Hannah felt the room spin. Her father had saved her by giving Lily's life as collateral. She whispered, horrified, "They never wanted me. They wanted my bloodline." The attic groaned, beams snapping as shadows swelled around Lily, wrapping her like a cocoon. Ramirez raised his gun. "Step away from the girl." But Hannah shoved his arm down. "You can't shoot her. That's my daughter." The faceless voice laughed through Lily again. "You'll watch her vanish. The same way your father vanished. The same way you were meant to vanish." Hannah's rage burned through the fear. "You want me?" she shouted. "Then take me instead. Leave her alone." The shadow paused. For the first time, it seemed curious. Offer accepted. The cocoon unraveled, and Lily collapsed to the floor unconscious. But Hannah's chest seized as invisible hands clamped around her throat, dragging her upward. Ramirez lunged forward, grabbing Hannah's arm with one hand and holding his lighter in the other. He flicked the flame to life, thrusting it toward the journal pages. "Burn it!" Hannah choked out, her feet kicking as she dangled in the air. Now. But Ramirez hesitated. His eyes locked on one page in particular, an old entry that listed names. And there, scrawled in faded ink, was his own last name. "Wait," Ramirez whispered, trembling. "My family. My name's in here." Hannah's voice rasped, desperate. "Do it." The shadows tightened around her neck, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Ramirez's hand hovered over the page, torn between saving Hannah and learning the truth about his own bloodline. Lily stirred on the floor, her voice faint but haunting. "Daddy's waiting downstairs." Ramirez's head snapped up. What did she just say? The attic door creaked open on its own, the darkness yawning below. And from the staircase came the sound of slow, heavy footsteps. Someone else was in the house. The attic groaned under the weight of silence. Ramirez froze, torn between the journal in his hands and Hannah's choking gasps. Her feet kicked desperately as the faceless entity tightened its grip around her throat. Then Lily whispered again, her small voice cutting through the chaos. "Daddy's waiting downstairs." The words weren't hers. They were too deep, too knowing, too final. The creak of slow, deliberate footsteps rose from the staircase. Heavy, dragging, as though someone carried chains across the floorboards. Ramirez's pulse hammered. "Who's there?" he shouted, his gun quivering in his grip. But no answer came. Only the footsteps. Closer. Louder. Hannah's face turned purple, her fingernails clawing at the invisible force crushing her windpipe. Her eyes bulged, darting toward Ramirez. "Burn it," she mouthed silently. But Ramirez couldn't. Not yet. His gaze locked on the faded ink of the journal, his family's name scrawled among the others. Why was he listed? Why him? The footsteps stopped. A shadow stretched across the attic doorway. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness below. Tall, broad shoulders, a limp in his step. Ramirez's breath caught in his throat. His hand trembled, because even through the dim light, he recognized that face. His father, gray-haired, wrinkled, eyes sunken but unmistakable. "Dad," Ramirez whispered, but his father had been dead for 15 years. "Son," the man croaked, his voice gravel dragged over stone. "It's time you knew." Ramirez staggered back, his gun lowering. You can't be here. You." "I made the pact," the figure interrupted, stepping fully into the attic. His movements were stiff, mechanical, as though held up by invisible strings. "I gave them our bloodline, to spare you." The shadows surged in agreement, slamming Hannah harder against the wall. She gagged, eyes wide, watching the nightmare unfold. Ramirez shook his head violently. "No. You died before I was old enough to even remember." "Because that was the price," his father rasped, his hollow eyes fixed on him. "My life for your chance. But the debt doesn't end. It never ends." Ramirez's heart fractured. The truth burned through him. He wasn't just an investigator stumbling into Hannah's nightmare. He was part of it. The circle wasn't just Hannah's family curse. It was his too. The journal had been telling him all along. Two families, bound together. And Lily was the next tether. "No!" Ramirez roared, his voice breaking. "You don't get to take her. You don't get to take anyone else." He raised the lighter, flame hissing and dancing. But his father lunged forward, eyes glowing with shadow. "If you burn that book, you burn us all. You burn me, and you burn her." The shadows shrieked, shaking the attic beams. Dust rained down as the house moaned under the weight of forces too old, too cruel to understand. Hannah's voice ripped through the chaos, hoarse and raw. "Do it! Do it! Ramirez!" Ramirez's hand shook violently, the flame inches from the brittle pages. His father's decayed hand reached out, trembling. "Don't!" Lily stirred, eyes fluttering open. She whispered in a weak, broken tone, "Uncle, please, stop him." Ramirez's stomach plummeted. "Uncle!" She wasn't speaking to him. She was speaking to the shadow behind him. Ramirez spun around, lighter still flickering in his grip, and froze. Another figure stood in the corner of the attic, taller than his father, dressed in black, face hidden. Slowly, it stepped forward, dragging a hooked chain across the floor. The faceless entity released Hannah, letting her crumple to the ground. And in a voice colder than death, it whispered, "Part of the bloodline has arrived." The attic light flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed the attic whole. Ramirez couldn't see Hannah, couldn't see Lily, couldn't even hear his own breath. Only the slow metallic drag of the hooked chain scraping across the wooden floor. And then, the voice again. Low, heavy, icy enough to freeze his blood. The bloodline must be complete. Ramirez's lighter hissed in his trembling hand, a tiny flame against the endless black. He raised it, and saw him, the figure in black. The uncle. Ramirez's gut twisted. The man's face was hidden under a mask, smooth, featureless, gleaming faintly in the glow of the flame. The hooked chain slithered like a living thing at his feet, twitching as though hungry. Behind Ramirez, Hannah coughed violently, crawling across the floor, her fingers clawing for Lily. The child clung to her mother, sobbing softly, eyes wide at the towering stranger. The attic groaned again. Dust trickled down from the rafters. Every sound felt magnified in the silence. "Who are you?" Ramirez rasped, his voice cracking under the weight of fear. The figure tilted its head. "The one who collected what your father promised." Ramirez's hands shook. You're not real. This is some sick hallucination." The figure's head snapped toward him, unnaturally fast, like a predator catching scent. Chains rattled. Shadows slithered across the attic walls. "Do you feel hallucinations bleed?" The voice taunted, deep and mechanical. Suddenly, the hooked chain lashed forward, slicing across Ramirez's arm. He gasped in pain as blood dripped down his sleeve. Hannah screamed, "Ramirez!" The figure chuckled, low, rumbling, too human, and not human at all. Ramirez staggered back, gripping his arm, mind racing. He looked at the journal still clutched in his other hand. The inked names swirled faintly in the flickering light, glowing as though alive. And there, 2 blank spaces, 2 empty lines. Waiting. Ramirez's heart stopped. One for him, one for Lily. The uncle's voice rumbled again. "Your father chose his own sacrifice. And now, you will choose yours." It gestured to Hannah with a clawed finger. The girl or the mother? Ramirez froze, bile rising in his throat. "No," he whispered. "Yes," the uncle hissed, taking one heavy step forward. The floorboards moaned beneath his weight. "One name must fill the book tonight. Over my dead body." Ramirez roared. He flicked the lighter closer to the pages. The journal hissed, edges curling under the flame. The uncle lunged forward, chain snapping like lightning. Ramirez ducked, the hook shattering a beam behind him, splinters raining across the attic. Hannah cried out, shielding Lily. "Just burn it, Ramirez." The figure's mask glowed faintly in the firelight, faceless and cruel. "Burn it, and you burn her soul, too." Lily's small voice broke the chaos. "Uncle, please don't hurt them." The figure froze. The chain went still. Ramirez's breath caught. She knows you." The uncle's head tilted slowly toward Lily. "She remembers." Ramirez's blood ran cold. His mind screamed questions, but no words formed. Hannah clutched her daughter tighter, shaking. "What do you mean she remembers? She's just a child." The figure's voice dropped lower, softer, almost reverent. "She is not the first Lily." Ramirez staggered, heart pounding. What did you just say?" The uncle bent closer to the girl, its shadow swallowing her small frame. Chains rattled. The mask gleamed in the trembling flame. "She has lived before, and she died before." Ramirez's knees buckled. Hannah sobbed, clutching Lily tighter. And as the words echoed in the darkness, the attic floor suddenly groaned louder than ever, splitting beneath them. The boards cracked open, and all four of them, Ramirez, Hannah, Lily, and the uncle, plunged into the black void below. The fall seemed endless. Ramirez's stomach lurched as he plummeted into the dark, the screams of Hannah and Lily mixing with the clatter of rattling chains. His lighter flickered once, then died, plunging them into blackness. And then, impact. They didn't hit wood or stone. They landed on something soft, something that pulsed beneath them, like living flesh. Ramirez groaned, forcing himself to sit up. The air down here was damp, heavy with the stench of mold and copper. A faint, red glow pulsed through the walls, illuminating veins that snaked along the surface. It wasn't an attic anymore. It was a cavern. Hannah clutched Lily against her chest, rocking her protectively. The child whimpered, eyes darting in panic. And then, clink. The uncle landed upright, as if gravity itself bent around him. The hooked chain slithered like a serpent at his feet, scraping across the glowing floor. "You've crossed the threshold," the voice boomed. "There is no returning now." Ramirez's fists tightened around the journal. "What is this place?" he demanded, though his voice trembled. The uncle's faceless mask turned toward him. "The sanctuary your father built, to hide what he awakened." Hannah's voice cracked, panicked. No, this is impossible. Houses don't just open into this." The walls shivered at her scream, as though alive, answering her fear. Drops of black liquid oozed from the veins, sizzling as they hit the ground. Lily lifted her head slowly, her tiny voice cutting through the echo. I remember this." Ramirez's blood froze. The journal in his hands began to hum, pages fluttering though no wind blew. The blank spaces at the end glowed faintly, letters etching themselves in. 2 names. Incomplete. Ramirez's own surname appeared faintly on the top line before fading back into nothingness. Hannah saw it and gasped. "Ramirez, it's you. It's been you all along." "No," Ramirez muttered, shaking his head violently. "No, I'm not part of this. I'm not like him." The uncle's voice slithered closer. "Blood remembers, even when men forget." A sound broke through the cavern. A second voice. "Ramirez." It came from the walls. Familiar. Rough. Ramirez's breath caught. It was his father's voice. "No," he whispered. His chest tightened. "That's not possible." The walls bulged, forming the rough outline of a face. Twisted, warped, but unmistakable. His father's eyes blinked through the living surface. "You brought her here," the voice rasped. "You were always meant to finish what I began." Ramirez stumbled back, shaking. No, you died. I buried you." The uncle stepped aside, almost reverently, as if giving space for the living wall to speak. "You buried my body," his father's distorted face said. "But my soul, it never left." The hooked chain lashed toward Hannah, wrapping around her ankle. She screamed, trying to kick free. Lily sobbed against her. Ramirez roared, charging forward, ripping at the chain with his bare hands. His skin split under the jagged metal, but he didn't let go. "Let them go." The uncle tilted his head. "Choose, Ramirez. Save the mother, or save the child." The chain split, one end tightening around Hannah, the other slithering toward Lily. Ramirez's veins turned to ice. He was frozen between them. Hannah screaming, Lily crying, the chain tightening. "Ramirez, please." Hannah cried, her hands clawing at the metal. Lily's small, terrified voice cut deeper than any blade. "Daddy, help me." The word hit him like a gunshot. "Daddy." The walls shivered violently, the cavern rumbling as though that word carried power here. His father's twisted face leaned forward, eyes burning. "Bloodline complete," the wall rasped. "The book must be written in blood." Ramirez's hands shook violently, caught between the two chains, both tearing at his flesh. His vision blurred from the pain, his breath coming in shallow gasps. And then, the journal snapped open on its own. The blank line began to write itself. Not Hannah, not Lily, but Ramirez. His name scrawled in fresh, black ink, dripping like blood across the page. Ramirez screamed, dropping the book, and the cavern floor split wide open beneath him, swallowing him whole, leaving Hannah and Lily shrieking in terror as he vanished into the abyss. The cavern swallowed Ramirez whole. One moment, Hannah and Lily saw him struggling against the chains. The next, he was gone, consumed by a chasm that opened and sealed as quickly as it appeared. The silence that followed was worse than the screams. Ramirez fell, but there was no air rushing past, no sense of speed. Instead, it felt as though time slowed. The blackness was total, except for faint crimson veins threading through the void, glowing like distant stars. His body slammed against cold stone. The air here was colder, metallic, filled with the scent of rust and ash. He wasn't in the same cavern anymore. He was somewhere deeper. Before him stretched a massive hall, carved from jagged black rock. Torches burned with blue fire, casting shadows that twisted unnaturally against the walls. Along each side of the hall stood rows of stone statues. Dozens of them. Their faces were half eroded, but their poses were eerily familiar. Mothers holding children. Men with chains around their wrists. Children clutching books against their chests. At the far end of the hall, an altar, and on it, a book. Not the journal. Bigger. Ancient. It pulsed faintly, as if it were breathing. Ramirez staggered forward, his blooded hands trembling. Every instinct told him to turn back, but there was no way back. A whisper trailed through the hall. "Finish what I began." His father's voice. But this time, Ramirez didn't hear it in his ears. He felt it inside his skull. He approached the altar. The book was bound in leather, scarred with deep cuts, and across the cover was the same symbol Lily had drawn, the circle with the jagged star inside. When Ramirez's fingers brushed it, he recoiled instantly. The surface was warm, alive, and then, the statues around him began to move. Their stone jaws cracked open, groaning in unison. "Ramirez!" The sound rattled the entire hall. He stumbled back, clutching his head. No, this isn't real. But one statue stepped forward. Its face was nearly gone, but what remained looked eerily like his father. The stone hand reached out, pointing to the book. Right. Meanwhile, above in the cavern, Hannah was on her knees clutching Lily. The uncle loomed over them, chain dragging across the glowing floor. Hannah's voice cracked with fury. "Where is he? What did you do to him?" The uncle tilted his head, faceless mask gleaming in the red light. "He is being given a choice. If he chooses wrongly, neither of you will leave here alive." Hannah pulled Lily close, whispering into her ear, "Don't look at him, baby. Just don't look." But Lily's eyes wouldn't turn away. "Mommy," Lily whispered, "that man, he's not my uncle." Hannah froze. The uncle crouched low, the chain slithering like a serpent around his arm. "Children see truth before anyone else," he said softly. And then, Lily spoke again. "His grandpa." Hannah's blood ran cold. Back in the hall, Ramirez gritted his teeth. "I'm not your puppet. I won't write in that book." The statues all groaned at once, stone arms reaching toward him. The ground shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling. His father's stone form leaned closer. "You will, or the girl dies." Ramirez's chest tightened. The journal he had carried fell from his coat pocket, flipping open on its own. This time, words appeared clearly. One must be chosen. The bloodline demands sacrifice. And beneath it, two names. Hannah, Lily. Ramirez's scream echoed through the hall. He slammed the journal shut, trembling. "No, you can't make me do this." But the altar book pulsed harder, glowing now with every beat like a heart. His father's voice grew louder, pounding inside his head. "Choose." The statues' voices joined in unison, shaking the ground. "Choose." Ramirez fell to his knees, hands gripping his hair, the two names burning into his mind. Up above, Hannah shielded Lily as the uncle loomed closer. The chains writhed, preparing to strike. At the same moment, deep in the hall below, Ramirez's trembling hands hovered over the altar book. Two names glowed before him, Hannah, Lily, and then a third name began to etch itself in glowing crimson. Ramirez. The torches blew out. The hall went black. The hall was silent now, save for the thundering of Ramirez's heartbeat. On the altar, three names glowed like fire carved into flesh. Hannah, Lily, Ramirez. His father's stone likeness towered over him, eyes hollow, mouth cracked open. The word was no longer whispered. It was screamed. "Choose." Ramirez's hands shook as he hovered over the book. Each name pulsed, each syllable echoing inside his skull like a drumbeat. Hannah, Lily, Ramirez. Sweat stung his eyes. The air burned cold in his lungs. "No," he hissed. "You don't get to decide. Not you. Not this place." But the ground trembled harder, and from the cracks beneath his knees seeped a thick black liquid. It slithered like veins toward the altar, feeding the pulsing glow. The statues' mouths moved again. Only one, or all will perish. In the cavern above, Hannah wrapped herself protectively around Lily. The uncle's voice slithered through the dark, low and venomous. He stalls. He resists. But resistance only tightens the noose. Lily whimpered. Her eyes were locked on the figure's faceless mask. "Mommy," she whispered. "He keeps changing." "What do you mean?" Hannah whispered back, fear tightening her throat. "His, sometimes grandpa, sometimes someone else, and sometimes—" Her little voice faltered. "Sometimes he looks like Daddy." Hannah's stomach dropped. The uncle stepped closer, his heavy boots grinding against the glowing stone floor. "Truth," he murmured. "Children always see the truth." His chain rattled as he raised it slowly, letting it scrape against the rock. Sparks leapt from it, sizzling in the air like fireflies. Hannah shifted, placing herself directly between Lily and the figure. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "If you're who she says you are, then look at me. Look me in the eye and tell me this is who you've become." The mask tilted, pausing. For the first time, the chain lowered slightly. Back in the hall, Ramirez collapsed to his knees, gripping his skull. The whispers turned to shouts. And then, silence. The book's glow dimmed, then flared bright enough to blind him. When the light settled, something new had appeared on its pages. Not names. A drawing. Ramirez gasped. It was Lily's crayon sketch, the circle with jagged lines. But this time, it was more detailed. Around the circle were smaller shapes. Chains. Statues. A book. And at the center, a mirror. Ramirez stumbled back. His father's statue boomed. "Look!" The altar itself shifted, stone slabs grinding. And slowly, from within, a massive cracked mirror rose. Its surface shimmered like water. In it, Ramirez didn't see his own reflection. He saw the cavern above. Hannah, Lily, and the uncle. The figure's mask glowed faintly in the reflection. Then, for the briefest moment, the shimmer cleared. Ramirez's heart stopped. Behind the mask, he saw his own face. Not the beaten, blooded man he was now, but a colder version. Empty eyes, a mouth twisted into something cruel. The reflection spoke, even though the figure above said nothing. "You are me. I am you." Ramirez stumbled back, clutching his chest. No, that's not possible. The mirror cracked, a jagged line splitting down the middle. The two Ramirezes, one above, one below, stared at each other through the glass. Up above, Hannah's eyes widened. "Ramirez?" she whispered, the name slipping from her lips before she could stop it. The uncle turned his head sharply toward her, the mask's slit glowing crimson. And below, Ramirez's reflection smirked inside the mirror. "If you won't choose, I will." The book's pages flipped violently, each slam echoing through the hall like gunfire. The black liquid surged faster around Ramirez's feet. "Stop!" Ramirez screamed, slamming his fists into the altar. "You're not me." But the reflection only laughed. The statues began to crumble, chunks of stone falling away to reveal skeletal figures underneath. They moved now, fully alive, clawing their way toward Ramirez. The mirror pulsed like a heartbeat. And in the cavern above, the uncle raised his chain again, this time with a new voice spilling out from behind the mask. Ramirez's voice. "Choose, Hannah, or I'll choose for you." The cavern shook. Hannah clutched Lily tighter as the uncle's mask began to split down the middle, jagged cracks revealing something beneath. At the same time, Ramirez below pressed his hands against the mirror, desperate, screaming into the glass. "Don't listen to him, Hannah, it's not me." But the reflection on the other side whispered, almost lovingly, "It's always been me." The mask shattered, and Hannah finally saw the face beneath. The mask shattered. Shards clattered across the cavern floor, sparking against the glowing stone. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. Lily buried her face into her mother's chest, trembling. And when Hannah finally dared to look, she froze. The face beneath the mask wasn't a stranger. It was Ramirez. But not the Ramirez she knew. His skin was pale, almost gray, as if the life had been drained out. His eyes, Ramirez's eyes, were empty pits rimmed with burning red veins. And yet, the smirk was his. The jawline was his. The voice, oh God, the voice was his. "You see now," the doppelganger whispered, raising the chain with ease. "You've loved me. You've feared me. And now you'll follow me." Hannah's knees weakened, her grip on Lily tightening. No, that's not him. That's not my husband. Ramirez staggered backward from the cracked mirror. No, he rasped. You're not me. You're not real. The reflection tilted its head, mimicking him like a cruel echo. Not real, the doppelganger hissed from both sides of the mirror now, above in the cavern and below in Ramirez's own ears. You've been feeding me since the day you were born. The mirror pulsed, each heartbeat sinking with Ramirez's chest until his ribs felt like they might crack. You can't kill what you are. Hannah stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. You're not Ramirez. You're the thing that's haunted his family. The shadow that's been waiting for a door. The doppelganger's eyes flicked toward her, amused. And you opened it. With your child's hand. With her drawing. Lily whimpered, but Hannah didn't back down. Then I'll be the one to close it. She looked at Lily. Don't look, baby. And with shaking hands, Hannah grabbed a broken shard of the mask from the ground. The doppelganger's smile faltered for the first time. Do you really think you can cut out what's already inside him? Inside you. The walls of the cavern shook violently. Stalactites snapped free, crashing down around them. The chains binding the chamber lit with fire. Down below, Ramirez screamed as skeletal hands dragged him toward the mirror. His reflection grinned wider with every step. Closer, the doppelganger purred. Sooner or later, you'll stop fighting me. You always do. As Hannah raised the shard, Lily suddenly pointed at the doppelganger and cried out, "Mommy, look!" Hannah froze. The skin of the doppelganger's chest had begun to crack open. Beneath, something writhed. Not flesh, not bone, but a mass of twisting black chains, glowing faintly red, like molten veins. And carved deep into them was a single symbol, the same one from Lily's drawing. The circle, the jagged lines. The chains weren't holding the doppelganger. They were its body. The doppelganger leaned closer to Hannah, voice low and cruel. You can kill this face, but the chains. He spread his arms wide, revealing the glowing mass within. The chains are in all of you. The mirror below cracked wide open. Ramirez's body was yanked halfway inside, his screams echoing. And Hannah, clutching the shard, realized in horror. If she struck the doppelganger now, she might kill her husband too. The mask shattered. Shards clattered across the cavern floor, sparking against the glowing stone. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. Lily buried her face into her mother's chest, trembling. And when Hannah finally dared to look, she froze. The face beneath the mask wasn't a stranger. It was Ramirez. But not the Ramirez she knew. His skin was pale, almost gray, as if the life had been drained out. His eyes, Ramirez's eyes, were empty pits rimmed with burning red veins. And yet, the smirk was his. The jawline was his. The voice, oh God, the voice, was his. You see now, the doppelganger whispered, raising the chain with ease. You've loved me. You've feared me. And now you'll follow me. Hannah's knees weakened, her grip on Lily tightening. No, that's not him. That's not my husband. Ramirez staggered backward from the cracked mirror. No, he rasped. You're not me. You're not real. The reflection tilted its head, mimicking him like a cruel echo. Not real, the doppelganger hissed from both sides of the mirror now, above in the cavern and below in Ramirez's own ears. You've been feeding me since the day you were born. The mirror pulsed, each heartbeat sinking with Ramirez's chest until his ribs felt like they might crack. You can't kill what you are. Hannah stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. You're not Ramirez. You're the thing that's haunted his family. The shadow that's been waiting for a door. The doppelganger's eyes flicked toward her, amused. And you opened it. With your child's hand. With her drawing. Lily whimpered, but Hannah didn't back down. Then I'll be the one to close it. She looked at Lily. Don't look, baby. And with shaking hands, Hannah grabbed a broken shard of the mask from the ground. The doppelganger's smile faltered for the first time. Do you really think you can cut out what's already inside him? Inside you. The walls of the cavern shook violently. Stalactites snapped free, crashing down around them. The chains binding the chamber lit with fire. Down below, Ramirez screamed as skeletal hands dragged him toward the mirror. His reflection grinned wider with every step. Closer, the doppelganger purred. Sooner or later, you'll stop fighting me. You always do. As Hannah raised the shard, Lily suddenly pointed at the doppelganger and cried out, "Mommy, look!" Hannah froze. The skin of the doppelganger's chest had begun to crack open. Beneath, something writhed. Not flesh, not bone, but a mass of twisting black chains, glowing faintly red, like molten veins. And carved deep into them was a single symbol, the same one from Lily's drawing. The circle. The jagged lines. The chains weren't holding the doppelganger. They were its body. The doppelganger leaned closer to Hannah, voice low and cruel. You can kill this face. But the chains. He spread his arms wide, revealing the glowing mass within. The chains are in all of you. The mirror below cracked wide open. Ramirez's body was yanked halfway inside, his screams echoing. And Hannah, clutching the shard, realized in horror. If she struck the doppelganger now, she might kill her husband too. The cavern rumbled as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Hannah's knuckles were white around the shard of glass. One strike, and maybe she could destroy the doppelganger. But if the chains were bound to Ramirez, she might end her husband's life in the same heartbeat. Her chest heaved. Sweat slicked her palms. Lily's tiny hand clutched hers, trembling but steady. "Mommy," Lily whispered, her eyes wide with tears. "Don't hurt Daddy. Please." The doppelganger grinned, its cracked chest splitting wider to reveal more of the writhing, glowing chains. "Yes," it hissed. "Listen to the child. Let me in. Let me grow." For a moment, Hannah faltered. But then she remembered. She remembered nights spent alone while Ramirez worked double shifts to keep food on the table. She remembered Lily's first drawing of their family, all smiles, all together. She remembered the promise she had whispered to her daughter the night she was born. "No matter how dark it gets, I will always protect you." Her grip tightened. "No," she said, her voice clear now. "I'm not killing him. I'm killing you." The doppelganger's smile faltered, just slightly. "You can't separate us. We're the same chain." But Lily tugged at her mother's sleeve. Her crayon, the same one she had drawn with in the beginning, had somehow appeared in her small hand, glowing faintly with the same red as the chains. "Mommy," Lily whispered, "I can draw him free." Hannah stared. "Baby, how?" Lily's eyes shone. "Because I made the picture, and if I made it, I can change it." Without waiting for permission, Lily dropped to the cavern floor and began to sketch furiously on the stone with her glowing crayon. Lines, circles, jagged edges. But this time, she drew something new, a door. And inside the door, she drew a figure. Not a monster, not a chain, but her daddy, whole, free, smiling. The cavern shook harder, but now it wasn't collapsing, it was reacting. The chains inside the doppelganger's chest writhed violently, pulling toward Lily's drawing. "No," it shrieked, lunging toward her. But Hannah threw herself in front of the creature, slashing with the shard. Sparks flew. The doppelganger staggered back, its chest splitting open further. "Keep drawing, baby," Hannah cried. Lily pressed harder, her little fingers smudged with glowing red dust as the figure of her father grew clearer, brighter. Down below, Ramirez felt the pull. The skeletal hands holding him faltered, their grip loosening. For the first time, he could breathe. He saw it, the door, the drawing, and he reached. The doppelganger screamed, its voice splitting like broken glass. "You can't erase me. I am him." "No," Hannah shouted, her voice steady and fierce. "You're the shadow. He's the man. And we don't live in shadows anymore." With one last strike, she drove the shard deep into the heart of the doppelganger. At that exact moment, Lily finished her drawing with a single glowing stroke, a bright outline around her father's figure. Light exploded from the cavern floor, flooding the chains, tearing them apart link by link. The doppelganger shrieked, convulsing, its body unraveling into black dust as the mirror below shattered completely. Ramirez collapsed onto the stone beside Hannah, coughing, alive. The chains were gone. The shadow was gone. Silence. Only the soft drip of water from the cavern ceiling remained. Hannah dropped the shard, her hands shaking as she pulled Lily close. Ramirez crawled forward, his arms wrapping around them both, tears streaking his dirt-stained face. "We're okay," he whispered hoarsely. "We're finally okay." And for the first time in months, Hannah believed it. They walked out of that cavern together, the morning sun spilling over the horizon. It wasn't just the end of a nightmare. It was the beginning of a new promise, one built not on fear, but on strength. Later, Hannah would look back on that day and realize something. The darkness hadn't been in the chains. It hadn't been in the doppelganger. It had been in their silence. In the moments when they gave up, when they let shadows creep in instead of speaking, instead of standing together. And it was their courage, Ramirez's fight, Hannah's determination, and Lily's pure heart, that broke the cycle. Face the shadows, don't hide from them. What we avoid only grows stronger in silence. Your past doesn't define you. It can shape you, but it doesn't have to control your future. Children often see the truth adults overlook. Listen to them. Their innocence can hold answers that logic cannot. A family is stronger than fear. The bonds we protect with love can withstand the deepest darkness. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. The chains we break inside ourselves are stronger than any chains that bind us outside. Shadows only exist where there is light. Be the one who chooses to shine. A family isn't just who you're born to, it's who you fight for, together, in the dark. Even in the deepest cavern, a single spark of love can light the way out. The story of Hannah, Ramirez, and Lily didn't end in darkness. It ended in the light, not because they escaped the shadows, but because they chose to face them together. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson for all of us.
Every crime hides more than it reveals, and you don't want to miss what comes next. So before you go, subscribe now, like this video, and click the bell, because the next case might just hold the answer to the one you can't stop thinking about. Join the investigation. Join us. Behind the crime.